Joseph's story isn't just about colorful robes and dreams, it's about betrayal, power, and divine purpose. And now, Joseph of Egypt is becoming the next major project in Dallas Jenkins' expanding biblical universe. After the massive global success of The Chosen, Dallas announced that his new studio, 5 and 2 Pictures, would be working with Amazon Prime to bring multiple Bible-based stories to the screen. While many expected the Book of Moses to be the first epic in the lineup, a surprise announcement revealed that Joseph of Egypt would actually premiere before The Chosen Season 7. This means we're getting a full, emotionally packed miniseries about one of the Bible's most iconic characters while we wait for the final chapter of The Chosen. But here's where things get even more interesting. Dallas Jenkins is involved, but he's not directing or writing this time. That job falls to Craig Wright, a seasoned writer and producer best known for 6 Feet Under, Lost, and Greenleaf. Craig knows how to tell deeply human, faith-based stories with high drama and emotional depth. And if you've seen Greenleaf, you know this man can write spiritual conflict in a way that hits hard. According to the early reports, Dallas will serve as executive producer, meaning he's guiding the vision while trusting Craig to handle the script. And while some fans were surprised that Dallas isn't hands-on with writing, the choice makes sense. He's managing multiple projects, including animated series, the post-Ascension sequel, The Way of the Chosen, a Book of Moses trilogy, and even a Noah series and a Ruth feature film. With all of this underway, Joseph of Egypt is set to be a key piece in this growing biblical cinematic universe. But it's not just about the team behind the scenes. The story itself is what will draw millions of viewers. Because this is not just Joseph the dreamer. This is Joseph the survivor, Joseph the outcast, Joseph the second in command to Pharaoh, a young man who was thrown into a pit by his jealous brothers and sold into slavery, and still rose to power through faith, integrity, and wisdom. The official synopsis teases that Joseph defies all expectations and must face the ultimate test when his past returns. Fans of the Bible know exactly what that means. The moment when his brothers come crawling back during the famine, not knowing that the powerful Egyptian they're begging for food is the same brother they betrayed years ago. That confrontation, that moment of choice, revenge, or forgiveness is the emotional heart of the story. And now, it's going to be portrayed on screen in a limited series. This won't be stretched into multiple seasons. It's expected to be a one-time, tightly written event, likely spanning 8 or 10 episodes. That means every single moment will count. And with Prime Video backing it, production value will be sky high. So what about the cast? While no official casting announcements have been made yet, speculation is already stirring among The Chosen's global fan base. One name that keeps coming up is Shahar Isaac, who plays Simon Peter in The Chosen. Joseph is described in Genesis as handsome in form and appearance, and fans believe Shahar has both the depth and screen presence to bring Joseph to life. He's already proven he can carry emotional weight in The Chosen. Imagine what he could do with Joseph's journey. Another name in the conversation is Jonathan Rumi. Though his portrayal of Jesus is so iconic that casting him as another biblical figure might feel too jarring for some viewers, still, if anyone could make it work, it's Jonathan. And let's not forget the role of Joseph will require a young actor who can portray both vulnerability and royal command. So, the casting decision is critical. There's also a good chance the creators go with a completely unknown actor, someone fresh, someone unexpected. After all, Joseph himself was overlooked by his own family. Maybe the producers are planning to surprise us just like the story itself does. Either way, casting announcements are expected soon, and that will give us a whole new level of excitement. Until then, we're holding on to one key detail. This show is in development now. That means the scripts are being written. Early pre-production is underway, and casting is actively in progress. Filming hasn't begun, which means a trailer isn't ready yet, but the premiere window is clearer than ever. Joseph of Egypt is expected to debut sometime in late 2027 before The Chosen Season 7, which is set to premiere in March 2028 in theaters. That gives us plenty of time to get ready for what could be one of the most powerful retellings of Joseph's journey ever made. And in the months ahead, we'll likely get more casting news, first look photos, and teaser footage. For now, but one thing's for sure, Joseph's time has come. So let's take a closer look at what this Joseph of Egypt series might actually feel like. Because this isn't just another biblical story retelling. This is personal, intimate, high stakes, and deeply emotional. The creators aren't just showing the events we're going to live through them. Think about it. This isn't a man who simply suffered and then succeeded. Joseph is a character whose entire life is shaped by betrayal, slavery, injustice, and isolation. He loses his family, he loses his freedom. He's falsely accused. He's in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And still, somehow, he rises. That kind of transformation is rare. And it's that emotional journey that will drive this series. We're going to see a teenager sold like an object. A boy whose own brothers threw him away. A man who rises from a prison cell to the throne room of Pharaoh. The emotional pressure of being completely alone in a foreign land and still holding on to faith. That's the heart of Joseph's story. Not just survival, but trust in a plan far bigger than himself. The question is, how far will the series go into the emotions of those betrayals? Will we see the moment Joseph begs his brothers to stop screaming from the pit? Will the show linger in the dark corners of the prison where Joseph spent years waiting and wondering if he'd been forgotten? We already know Craig Wright isn't afraid of going deep. His past work shows he explores the wounds that shape people. And Joseph has many of them. But he also has something most people lose along the way, hope. And it's that hope that leads to forgiveness. It's what makes him not only a ruler in Egypt, but a true leader, one with integrity and vision. If the series captures that, it won't just be another Bible show, it'll be one of the most emotionally powerful dramas of the decade. And don't forget, Joseph's rise wasn't an accident. It was tied to his ability to interpret dreams, inspired, detailed visions of the future. This part of the story opens the door to something deeply spiritual and mysterious. The dreams of the cupbearer and the baker. Pharaoh's strange visions of fat and thin cows. These aren't just interesting details, they're key turning points. And in a visual medium like television, these moments can be haunting, surreal, and cinematic. That means the series has the chance to balance gritty reality with moments of divine insight, letting us see the supernatural moving through Joseph's life in powerful, symbolic ways. And because this is Prime Video, the production quality is expected to be top tier. The prison won't just be a shadowy room, it'll feel suffocating. Pharaoh's palace won't just be a backdrop, it'll be a world of power, politics, and danger, and the famine. It's going to feel real, visceral, desperate. This won't be Sunday school storytelling. This will be brutal and beautiful, just like Joseph's life. Now, another big question. What about the brothers? The 10 who betrayed him. Their role is just as crucial, because without their hatred, there's no pit, no slavery, no Egypt. In many ways, Joseph's story isn't just about one man, it's about a family ripped apart by jealousy. The dynamics between the brothers will add layers of tension to every flashback, every memory, and especially the final reunion. If the show does it right, we'll feel both anger toward the brothers and heartbreak for them, because they didn't know the damage they caused, until the moment they stand before the man they betrayed, and realize it's their brother. Can you imagine the tension in that scene? When they're begging for food, and Joseph is sitting in a position of power, deciding their fate, and they don't even recognize him. The emotional stakes are overwhelming. That's what this show promises. A human drama rooted in spiritual truth. And if done well, that moment won't be about revenge. It'll be about grace. And let's not ignore the world building. Egypt at that time was one of the most powerful civilizations in history. The series has the chance to show us not just Joseph's journey, but the political intrigue, royal culture, and brutal social structure he had to navigate. From the prison system to the palace, from slavery to strategy, Joseph had to learn how to survive in a world completely foreign to him. And he didn't just survive, he transformed an entire nation's economy and saved lives during a catastrophic famine. That's leadership, that's vision, and that's why his story matters. Because he wasn't just lucky, he was faithful, strategic, forgiving, and chosen. That's what makes his journey so powerful, and why audiences all over the world will relate to it. Now imagine this. You've been thrown away by your family, forgotten, misjudged, imprisoned, and then you're given the chance to rule. What would you do? That's the question at the heart of Joseph of Egypt. And that's why this series is not just about ancient history. It's about who we are today, about the pain we carry, and the choice we make when we finally hold power in our hands. Will we destroy, or will we redeem? Let's now talk about the deeper meaning behind Joseph's journey, because this series won't just be about a man rising to power. It will be about how we carry pain, how we respond to betrayal, and what it truly means to forgive. Joseph was not just wronged, he was abandoned by those who were supposed to protect him, sold for silver, erased from his father's life, and left to rot in a land that did not speak his language. But even in the darkest moments, Joseph never allowed bitterness to control him. That's what makes his story so timeless. He kept trusting, kept interpreting dreams, kept holding on. And that's why this upcoming series is so important. It reminds us that pain doesn't have to define you, that rejection doesn't have to be the end, and that sometimes the very people who try to destroy you are the ones you're meant to save. This is what makes Joseph such a powerful character. He doesn't just survive, he redeems. When the famine hits and his brothers come to Egypt begging for food, Joseph has every reason to strike back. Every reason to say, "You left me to die, and now you want mercy." But instead, he tests them. He sees if they've changed. He watches their reactions. He puts them through a moral trial. He even accuses them of theft to see how far they'll go to protect their younger brother Benjamin. And when Joseph finally reveals who he is, the emotional weight of that moment is almost unbearable. He doesn't say, "Look what you did to me." He says, "What you meant for evil, God meant for good." That's the heart of this show. That no matter how broken your past is, it can still lead to something good. That God's plan doesn't stop just because people fail you. And with Craig Wright as the head writer, this emotional complexity will be front and center. He has a gift for showing how past wounds shape people. In Greenleaf, he took religious family drama and turned it into a tense, layered exploration of faith and failure. In 6 Feet Under, he turned death into a study of human life. And now, with Joseph of Egypt, he's turning ancient betrayal into modern relevance. This isn't just a biblical epic. It's a story about family, loyalty, and the deep pain of being misunderstood. And while the series will definitely follow the Genesis account, it will also breathe new life into characters we rarely hear much about, like Potiphar, the Egyptian official who buys Joseph or Potiphar's wife, whose false accusation sends Joseph to prison. These side characters won't just be flat villains. They'll be explored as people with motives, struggles, and complexity. That's what Craig does. He humanizes even the most broken figures. There's also the theme of time. Because Joseph doesn't get justice right away, he spends years in slavery, more years in prison, and still more years rising through the ranks of Pharaoh's government. In today's world, we want everything fast. Justice, healing, answers. But Joseph's story teaches us patience. That God's plan unfolds slowly. That every delay has a purpose. And this show, if it's true to the source, will make us feel those years. We'll feel the weight of waiting, the heartbreak of wondering if God still sees us, and the joy when redemption finally comes. And of course, we can't ignore the visual symbolism that could be used to tell this story. Joseph's famous coat of many colors isn't just a gift, it's a symbol of love and favoritism, the very thing that causes his brothers hatred. When they rip it off and dip it in goat's blood to convince Jacob that his son is dead, that one act sets off a chain of pain that lasts for decades. But what if the coat returns? What if Joseph sees it again, in his mind or in a dream? That's the kind of symbolic weight this show can carry. And with a limited episode format, there's room to make every object, every flashback, and every line of dialogue feel meaningful. The relationship between Joseph and Pharaoh will also be something to watch closely. Pharaoh trusts Joseph based on nothing but a dream interpretation. That moment is risky, powerful, and deeply spiritual. It's the ultimate example of a man of faith stepping into a pagan world and proving his worth not through force but through wisdom. It's also a reminder that God can work anywhere, even in the heart of Egypt, even in the halls of power. This theme that God isn't limited to one people, one place, or one nation will likely be central to the show, especially if the creators want to connect this story to a broader biblical universe. Because remember, the Book of Moses, the Way of the Chosen, Ruth, and Noah are all being developed, and Joseph's time in Egypt lays the groundwork for everything that comes next, including Moses, the Exodus, and the formation of Israel. So in many ways, this series is more than just a standalone story. It's a prequel to the next wave of biblical storytelling. And finally, let's talk about what this means for the Chosen fans. Because Joseph of Egypt isn't replacing the Chosen, it's expanding the world we love. Dallas Jenkins might not be directing this show, but his fingerprints are all over it. The values, the storytelling focus, the emotional intensity, it's all there. And with Dallas producing, there's a good chance we'll see familiar names return in the future. Shahar, Isaac as Peter, Jonathan Rumi as Jesus in flashbacks. And maybe new actors stepping into roles that will carry into other shows. We're not just watching one series anymore. We're watching the birth of a new kind of Bible-based cinematic universe. One where each story connects, each character matters, and every moment of faith leads to something greater. As we look ahead, one thing is becoming very clear. Joseph of Egypt isn't just a new series. It's the bridge between everything that's come before and everything that's still to come. It's the emotional and spiritual turning point that will carry the weight of generations. And because this show is coming before The Chosen's final season, that timing matters. We're not just watching another Bible drama to pass the time. This is the spiritual deep breath before the storm. The Chosen Season 7 will break us. We already know that. The crucifixion, the betrayal, the final teachings of Jesus, it's going to be the most emotional season of the series. But before we get there, we're getting Joseph. A story of redemption, a family reunion, of promises kept. And in many ways, it's exactly the kind of story we'll need before walking into the heartbreak of the final season of The Chosen. It will prepare us, strengthen us, remind us that even when everything falls apart, God is still writing a story worth waiting for, and the production details prove how seriously they're taking this. With Prime Video officially backing the project, we're looking at a global platform, massive distribution, and access to top-tier talent both behind the camera and in front of it. And this isn't crowdfunding, this is studio-backed. It changes the scale, bigger budget, faster development, and possibly even international locations. We could see real Egyptian landscapes, ancient architecture, desert storms, all the things that make the story feel epic and grounded at the same time. It's rare for a biblical series to get this kind of treatment, and it means the team knows. This isn't just any story, it's the story of survival, forgiveness, and legacy. But the most powerful thing about Joseph's story isn't just the setting or the miracles. It's the reconciliation. After years of separation, Joseph weeps when he sees his brothers again. He doesn't lash out. He doesn't reveal his identity right away. He waits. He watches. And when the time is right, he breaks down not with anger, but with love. That's the emotional climax of this series, and it's going to hit hard. Because we all have people who've wronged us. People we wish we could forgive, but can't. Joseph's story forces us to ask, what would I do if I had the power to crush the ones who hurt me? And it dares us to imagine a different response. Mercy, that's the message. That's the heart of this upcoming series. And for those wondering how this all connects with the larger biblical timeline, remember, Joseph is the link between Jacob's family and Egypt. His presence in Egypt leads directly to the rise of Israel in a foreign land, and to their eventual enslavement. Which means Joseph of Egypt will naturally set the stage for the Book of Moses series. Dallas Jenkins has already confirmed that Book of Moses will be a 3-season epic, covering Moses' early years, his exile, the plagues, and the crossing of the Red Sea. But none of that happens without Joseph. His rise in Egypt lays the political foundation for everything Moses later has to confront. That's why this show matters. It's not just a one-off, it's the first domino in a much bigger story. And while we don't yet have a trailer, the buzz is already building. Dallas Jenkins has hinted that production will begin soon. That means casting announcements could come any week now. And once filming starts, the first teaser might drop as early as 2026, possibly late that year or early 2027. That timeline would line up perfectly for a late 2027 release, just months before The Chosen Season 7 premieres in March 2028. So if you're someone who's been following The Chosen from the beginning, this is your moment. Because the next phase of storytelling is about to begin. And it all starts with a boy in a pit, a slave in a prison, and a man in Pharaoh's court who never gave up. This also raises an exciting possibility. What if we start seeing crossovers? Maybe not in Joseph of Egypt, but in the future series, like The Way of the Chosen or Book of Moses. The seeds are being planted now, and the vision is expanding. The cast of The Chosen is already legendary: Shahar Isaac, Jonathan Rumi, Paraz Patel, Noah James. Could some of them return to play ancestors, descendants, or even familiar faces in different eras? The door is open, and with Craig Wright now part of the storytelling team, new layers are being added to this universe. New perspectives, new styles, but the same message: faith under fire, hope in the waiting, and grace in the moment of truth. And that brings us back to you, because this story isn't just for entertainment, it's for reflection, for renewal. Joseph of Egypt will ask us the same questions Joseph had to answer. Will I keep trusting when no one believes in me? Will I forgive those who hurt me? And will I still believe that God has a plan, even when nothing makes sense? So now we stand at the edge of something truly special. A story that began thousands of years ago is being told again not just as ancient history, but as living truth. Joseph of Egypt is more than a television show. It's a reminder that no matter how deep the betrayal, how long the silence, or how dark the prison, there is still a purpose. Joseph's story is the story of all of us who've been overlooked, misunderstood, or forgotten. And what makes this new series so powerful is that it's arriving right when we need it most. In a world drowning in revenge stories and fractured families, Joseph of Egypt offers something else. We're about to witness one of the greatest emotional arcs ever written. A boy sold into slavery becomes a man with the power to forgive. And that forgiveness doesn't just heal him, it saves his entire family. That's why this story has lasted. That's why Dallas Jenkins, Prime Video, and Craig Wright are pouring their hearts into telling it right. And even though we haven't seen a frame of footage yet, the setup alone is enough to stir something inside us. The casting, the production, the story direction, it all points to a series built to shake us, inspire us, and challenge us. We might not know who's playing Joseph yet, or how they'll stage the moment when he reveals himself to his brothers. But we do know this: it's going to be unforgettable. This is the kind of show people will talk about, share with their families, watch again and again. Because we're not just watching history, we're watching hope. And when that final scene arrives, when Joseph weeps and embraces the very men who betrayed him, we'll be reminded that grace is more powerful than vengeance. Think about where we are in the Chosen timeline. Season 6 is in production. Season 7 is coming in 2028. And in between, Joseph of Egypt will fill the space not as a distraction, but as a mirror. The pain Joseph carries, the sorrow Jesus will endure. These stories are tied together. Different men, different eras, but the same heartbeat: faith in the Father. That's why fans of The Chosen should be paying attention. Because Joseph of Egypt is not a side project. It's the beginning of a spiritual journey that Dallas Jenkins and his team are inviting us to walk. And with Craig Wright handling the writing, we can expect a narrative that honors the Bible, yet brings out emotional truths we've never seen on screen before. We're entering a new era for biblical storytelling, one that doesn't shy away from the brokenness of humanity, but also doesn't let go of hope. And Joseph is the perfect character to lead us into that new world. He's been crushed, tested, humbled, and in the end, elevated. Not because he fought for it, but because he never gave up on who he was called to be. That's the story we need. And it's the story we're about to see. So as we wait for the cast announcements, the behind-the-scenes photos, the trailers, and that all-important release date, remember this: Joseph of Egypt isn't just a television event. It's a divine appointment. A story that speaks to the dreamers, the outcasts, the forgotten. And when it finally premieres, likely in late 2027, just before The Chosen's final season, we won't just be watching a show. We'll be stepping into a legacy of redemption, resilience, and reconciliation. So, are you ready? Are you ready to see how God can take betrayal and turn it into blessing? To see how a shattered family can be restored? To see how one man's pain became the key to an entire nation's survival? Because when Joseph of Egypt arrives, we won't just remember his name, we'll remember why his story still matters. And maybe, just maybe, it'll change the way we see our own